Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we'll discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Kimberly Jiao, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. After almost 6 months of street protests, the tsunami of disaffection helped pro-democracy parties ride the wave to a landslide win in Hong Kong's district council elections. People voted in record numbers as the election is seen as a barometer of support for Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam. And the message couldn't have been clearer. By noon, the pro-democracy camp had won 17 out of the 18 district councils, taking more than 340 seats. And with such an overwhelming win, pro-democracy Democrats will have a big say in selecting Hong Kong's next chief executive. In a statement released by Mrs. Lam, she said, "The government will definitely listen humbly and reflect on the people's opinion." Joining us now live from Hong Kong is regional correspondent Elizabeth Law. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Kim.
So my first question is, was this a watershed election?
Well, I suppose to that you can say yes and no, because firstly, this is the district council, which is the equivalent of it in Singapore is town council. This is the lowest rung of elected officials in the Hong Kong political system. So these people who are elected, they will deal with very grassroots types things like noise complaints, like where the bus stops are going to be, like town improvements. Just that in Singapore we don't vote for them, but in Hong Kong you do. But yes, because this seems to have been a turning point in the unrest. In the days leading up to the elections, we've actually seen that people have calmed down, and we don't see protests being as violent as they have in the past months, in fact. So at the end of the day, I would be, sorry to cut you off, but at the end of the day, I would be cautiously optimistic to say that this could be a turning point.
I see. So was there sort of a generational divide in the way the Hong Kongers voted?
Well, the fact is that we don't have the numbers to back that up yet, because I mean the election was just last night. The polls closed at 10:30 and counting went on till basically noon today, and so that we don't have the actual breakdown of how people voted. But going into these elections, we knew that the younger people tended to be a bit more pro-democracy. They tend to be bit more anti-government, anti-Beijing, and the older generations have traditionally been the stronghold of the pro-Beijing establishment parties. But what we do know is that there have been a wave of new sign-ups for people to vote, because in Hong Kong you have to register to become a voter, unlike in Singapore where voting is compulsory and you're automatically registered to vote. So here we know that in the last year, a lot more people signed up to vote, and these were the additional votes that actually pushed the pro-democracy councillors across the line and helped them to have this massive win.
Oh, wow. So, now that this sort of pro-democracy bloc is firmly in charge of the district council, will it, make any difference? Because after all, the future of Hong Kong is sort of still decided by the powers that be in Beijing.
Well, again, a caveated answer, yes and no. I would say that yes, to a certain extent, because you have to remember that even though they are just district councillors, they are not legislative councillors, which is the next level where you actually get to vote on laws and to make laws and change laws. They also have about 120 something seats on the electoral committee. Now, this electoral committee is 1,200 strong. It's made up of members across Hong Kong society, and these are the people that choose the chief executive. So Chief Executive Carrie Lam was chosen by one such committee, and so they could influence the committee in a certain way, but still 120 out of 1,200, that is quite little. But at the same time also, obviously, this has sent a message to the government here, to the government in Beijing, to show that, look, all that you have done in the last 5 months, the policies that have been made, obviously people here are not reacting as well to them as they hoped, and maybe it would change the way policy on Hong Kong is made. Now, it's early days yet, but I think we can all be slightly hopeful.
I see. Well, it remains to be seen, as you mentioned. Well, but thank you for taking the time to share more with us, Liz, and do stay safe where you are.
Thank you.
You can access more of Liz's analyses on Hong Kong or have a look at the full election results on straitstimes.com.